What up, infidels? Another week, another brown. You know what it is. What's up? Good to see y'all. Back again, Bex again. You know, it's been a week. Usually, like I said, I record on Friday, but today is Thursday. I'm going out. I am flying out to my friend's wedding, Derek and Sam. You guys know them. If you are fans of me, you clearly know who they are. Going to a wedding where I'm going to be the best man. My first time best manning. Uh, it's gonna be interesting that I have like an actual part in a wedding. So that'll be fun. Being the best man, going over my speech, my best man speech, and I started crying just going over it in my house by myself. So, am I going to cry when I actually give it? 100%. So, just mentally preparing myself to cry in front of some famous people. So, doing that. I'm excited to be best man. It's been a good week. We started off the week on Monday. There was a Drake concert, and me and our crew, we dressed up in white Nike Techs, like full white with like white Air Force Ones. Like, bro, our squad went full white, and we had front row seats. And yo, we stuck out like a motherfucker. I'll go through and see if I can find a picture of us from across the arena, but we stuck out. At one point, 21 Savage looks at us, points, and starts laughing. Yo, greatest experience of my life. Greatest experience of my life. It was so fun. I'm not a concert person at all, but all white Nike Techs, front row, yes. Yes, that experience, even if the show was shitty, which it wasn't. Drake, obviously, world-class performer, one of the greatest artists of all time, really. And so the show was unbelievable. But even if the show was dog shit, us in that moment dressed the same was incredible. At one point, so we came in when Central C was opening, and when we got to our seats, yo, we saw people's cameras turn and just take photos of us. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was definitely like a main character moment. That's what it felt like. Never in my life have I felt like a main character until that moment. I was like, oh, for like 20 minutes, we were the main characters. That was phenomenal. Phenomenal. We made 21 Savage laugh. That was fantastic, dude. You know how awesome it is to make a guy named Savage laugh? You know? So, I mean, just all white Nike Techs. Like I said it before the other day. I'm just another brown guy in tech finally, huh? My parents got what they wished for. It's just fantastic, bro. Like it just is like being in a position in life where I can sort of make these wonderful moments happen is beautiful. It's beautiful. Like, you know, I'm very cautious with my money, and I am a saver and never a spender. But like situations like that, like, oh, that's what money is made to be spent for. Memories. Memories. Like, yo, even if I lose it all tomorrow, I would probably, if I lost it tomorrow, I would be like, fuck, why'd I spend all that money on that Drake and concert and Nike Techs? I'd probably be like, but like, let's say in a few years, I lose it all. Always gonna have that memory. Never can take that away from me. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Truly another 9/11 I'll never forget. Truly. It was on the concert was on 9/11. So funny. This is a great moment. Felt baller as hell. Killed it. This is what it felt like. Killed it. Getting recognized, that was amazing. Amazing. If I ever meet Drake, or 21 Savage. I want to ask, yo, do you remember 2023, the Austin concert you had on 9/11? Do you remember the 7 all-white Nike techs in the front row? You remember that? Because I'm curious. I mean, they had to have, you know, I guess the narcissist in me is like, oh, they had to talk about us after the show. That's crazy, right? But there was also the same show where someone ran on the stage and security was very slow to get them off. So they might have been talking about that all night, because that would have made me so mad. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, if you're security, how do you let anyone get that close to Drake? That's crazy. That's crazy, dude. So yeah, that was my week, dude. That's how my week started. And it ends with the wedding of my best friend. Crazy. Crazy. That's going to be nuts. It's my first American wedding. Going to a white wedding. Is it my first American wedding? No, it's my second one. I went to my friend Nick's wedding a while ago. But this one is the first one I'm like, I'm a part of this. I am a part of this. This is nutso gutso. So yeah, excited. Things are just things are looking up in the world. You know what I mean? In a very positive place. But so this is Thursday. So whatever happens this weekend is whatever happens this weekend. You know what I mean? I had to say no. I think Sam Talent was asking me to do the shows this week. I had to say no, unfortunately. Has he seen it or responded? Nope, he has not. Damn, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, sorry. Get back in it. So what did I want to talk about? Though this is what I want to talk about. So I just was like, as a thought exercise, I had this thought. What would it take for the NFL to crumble? You know, barring like societal breakdown. Let's say society keeps going as it is. What would it take for the NFL to crumble? And what if, let's say, we have a game in the stadium where it's Giants-Cowboys. We'll say, we'll pick two bitter rivals, or Packers-Bears. Two bitter rivals. And in the course of the game, the Cowboys and the Giants fans unite against the system. You know, the system that we have where prices are going up, but wages have been stagnant for like 50 years or some crazy shit like that. What if the Cowboys and the Giants fan over the course of these games put aside their bitter rivalries and unite? And through their unification, they get so worked up that they cause a riot. And in the ensuing riot, they take over the city. And the only way to reclaim the city is that the government sends in troops. And in MetLife Stadium or Cowboy Stadium, wherever this riot takes place, they kill 30,000 spectators. That would kill the NFL. It would. And you might be thinking, what an insane idea that you have. What an ridiculously insane thought. That could never happen. Well, maybe not in modern times. But in the first century? I think the first century, hold on. I might have gotten the date wrong. Let's see. We're going to keep this in. Obviously, we keep everything. Let's see. Oh, okay. Rewind back. You might think that's an insane thought. But in the 6th century, something like that happened. This is, all right, well, I'm trying to be all cool, and I fucked up the intro by not knowing the date. You know how it is, but we keep it in. You see it. This is what this podcast is. It's me and my glorious mistakes. Some people cut it out and be like, look at me not making a mistake. No, I make mistakes. But I'm talking about the Nika riots, where something along the lines that I described, not obviously exactly, happened. And it killed chariot racing. Dun 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 dun. This was a crazy situation that I learned about, and I'm going to check this text that I say real quick because I got a text, and you know me, I always check texts. Oh shit, I gotta send the solid show, so I'm gonna send the lineup for the solid comedy show right now because that was something I had to do, and I totally forgot. So here's all the people who were on solid yesterday. It went Cam Patter. I'm gonna say sorry. Cam Patterson. Who went after Cam? It was Fuzzy. He was the host. Fuzzy Kilg. Then Genevieve. Then CJ Landry. These are all very funny people. Candice Medina, Candice Medina. Who was after Candice? We had Ty Rivera, then Ron White, Duncan Trussell, and then Adam Ray. So that is the lineup for solid that we had yesterday that I had to send right now in the middle of the podcast. So bad. Ruined all the flow that I had going into it. But are we keeping it in? Yes, you guys are a part of it. And come to Solid Comedy every Wednesday at the Comedy Mothership. Quick plug. Turned it into a quick plug. All right. So Nika Riots. That's what the episode of this. That's what this episode is called. How did I even get to knowing about this? I want to take you down the journey of how I got to even think about the Nika Riots. There is a guy on Twitter called The Cultural Tutor, and he had this thing about this guy named Gaius Appius Diocles. And the way this popped up is Nick Bosa recently signed a contract for the San Francisco 49ers where he made him the highest paid defensive player of all time, right? And so the cultural tutor brought that up and was like, well, you want to know who the highest paid athlete of all time? It's this chariot racer named Gaius Diocles. And his overall total winnings was $15 billion in today's money. Insane the amount of wealth this man generated from chariot racing. And I looked up chariot racing. They were an incredibly popular sport. I don't know if they were first or second behind the gladiators. We'll say for our purposes, they're first to sort of mirror the what was happening in the world with the mirror and the NFL, the sort of, example I used. But they were incredibly dangerous. People, while they were chariot racing, they often would die. The horses would go as much as 40 miles per hour. Obviously, there's no seat belts or roll cages. So if you got flung off at 40 miles per hour. And if there were a crash, your body would get mangled by the horses that would crash, the fucking your actual chariot being all disintegrated, and some drivers would be dragged to their deaths. It was a sport. In fact, the median, most racers didn't make it to their 30s. It was a dangerous sport. Yet Gaius Diocles made it till he was in his 40s. That's when he retired. He was like the Brett Favre, the Tom Brady, the Drew Brees of chariot racing. He made it so. Won over 1,000 races. Crazy. crazy to race that many times. He raced 4,000 times. What, 1,000 races? Apparently, his strategy for these charity races was not to be in the front because that's where all like the accidents happen. But he would hang back, wait for the crash, and then pull away at the end. It's a style very reminiscent of, I don't know if you guys ever played Mario Kart online or still do, but when I played it online for Wii, I noticed a lot of Japanese racers would hang back, wait to get the good items, and then make their move towards the end of the race. That's the first thing when I read this about Gaius Diocles, I was like, oh, he's like a Japanese online Mario Kart Wii racer. That's, in fact, I adopted that strategy, so when I played Mario Kart with my friends in college, I would dominate them. I was like, hey, yo, in UC San Diego, Revelle and Argo, the Revelle College from 2010 to 2014, I was the Gaius Diocles of Mario Kart racing. Dominated them. Put these motherfuckers on skates, dog. I don't even know if that applies to what I'm saying. Destroyed. Demolished. I was a legend. I read so much about how many people would die during chariot racing. And of course, during the Roman times, you had the gladiator games, right? And this is something that we talk about now, especially with football and CTE and, making the sport safer and all that, and making all these sports safer. And I think the reality is, at professional sports, at the highest level, you are putting your body on the line in ways that if they don't kill you now, might kill you later. And I think most people know that going into it, hopefully. I don't know. But that's just, I think, the reality of professional sports. You can't make a super professional sports super safe. It's not how that works. Just, you know what I mean? Your body is your weapon. Even like non-high contact sports, like say baseball. Baseball is not really a high contact sport. These catchers' knees are fucked, especially if you're a catcher for many years. That's just, and in ancient Rome, they obviously went to an extreme where like no one was crying about safety. It was like, hey, seeing someone die was just a part of the games. That's just is what it is. I know there's sports in like, I guess I don't know I don't know if it was Mayan. It sounds wrong if I say Mayan, but I'll say Mayan right now. But there was in that area of the world, that sort of game where it was like you had to use your hips to hit the ball through the hole on the wall. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And some of the times the losing captain got executed. Sports throughout history have always required the participant to put it all on the line. The beauty of modern day sports is now that we care about safety, and it's like, hey, NFL, you should be paying for these, doctor visits and whatnot, and the healthcare of your player afterwards. Like, now we care about that, and that's good, but don't get it twisted. No matter what, if you want to play professionally and you want to be a champion, you got to be willing to risk it all. That's the sort of vibe I got from this. It's like, yo, you got to be able to risk it all. It's interesting, too, that I was reading up on Gaius Diocles. He raced for 24 years. It was viewed as beneath the upper class. It was viewed as a lower class thing to be an athlete back then. You know what I mean? Where the idea here is like the starting quarterback in high school is the popular guy, and and Tom Brady is revered, but in ancient Rome, the Tom Brady of chariot racers was looked down upon. Can you imagine looking at Tom Brady and being like, yeah, but he's kind of a loser. He's kind of a whatever person. It's wild. It's like this is just such a different mindset. And I think also that's probably why people would enjoy the blood sport of the whole thing, because it's like if your athletes are mostly from the lower, super underprivileged class of people, and a lot of them were slaves, especially gladiators, some chariot racers as well. It's like, well, if you don't look at them as human beings almost, it's kind of cool to see them die. Imagine if the number one quarterback in the world, if Patrick Mahomes didn't want to be there, he kind of had to. Weird, right? It's weird putting yourself in this sort of like trying to put yourself in the world of like the ancient Romans and or any sort of other civilization, even now that exists now, and trying to put yourself in the mindset of those people, because your y- your view of what you would do is colored by the culture you live in. This is something I used to ask on stage all the time. Is like if you lived in 1930s Germany and you were a blonde person with blue eyes, would you and you were a high-ranking member of society, would you fall for the Nazi ideology? Would you be a Nazi? And of course, knowing what we know now and growing up how we grow up and the morality in which we grew up in, we would obviously say, no, I would never be a Nazi. Why would I ever do that? But if you lived in the time and grew up in the places, why wouldn't you? We are just a product of that, right? Like I I personally got taken over by fidget spinners. I had so many of them, and Pokemon Go. I was all about Pokemon Go when it came out. Well, if Nazism was the thing, would I be a part of it? So it's interesting to put yourself in these sort of situations. It's like we like to think like, oh, these chariot races, these gladiator games, they're barbaric. But if you lived in the time, they were just entertainment. And you'd be like, oh, I hope I see someone die today. Could you put yourself in a situation? Could you even imagine right now getting worked up to the point where you would be like, oh, I want to go see someone die? I can't imagine it. I remember how much Damar Hamlin fucked up everybody. But in ancient Rome, they'd be like, yeah. And we're not much different from them. That's the crazy thing. They're just people. They're just human beings. I think people like to look at older, quote unquote, ancient people and be like, oh, they were so backwards and they didn't get it, but they're just like us. You are a product of your environment. Sometimes that gets people mad because they're like, no, I would never be like that. It's like, yeah, you now, but could you put yourself in that situation where you lived in ancient Rome? I want so desperately my entire life to fit in. So why wouldn't I do the thing that makes me fit in? I don't know. It's interesting that that's what they were into. So yeah, so I don't even know where I was going. So okay, so at the time when Gaius Diocles was running things, there were three teams: red, white, blue, green. Gaius raced for three of the teams. I don't think he ever raced for the blues, but he started in white, which was like the lowest. Ended up in red. Ended up in red. But this is where we got into the Nika riots. This is, I think, long after Gaius Diocles. But by the time the Nika riots happened, it was just the blue and the green team left, and I believe Um, uh, the rich was blue, like it, and then so the team sort of fell across socioeconomic lines. Like the rich people supported blue, the regular non-rich supported green. That's how it happened, right? And there is a giant political unrest. The Emperor Justinian has been in power, and he has had a rocky go. The rich people don't like him because his Empress Theodora is common born, and she was a little too yappy. She was, she blah, hey, ladies, la da 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 da, But Theodora talked too much, and then the upper class didn't like it. See, women at the time were expected to take a back seat to the emperor. They were supposed to be sort of like a figurehead, which ironically is, we talked about earlier, as, people going to see Bloodsport. The more things change, we don't watch Bloodsport like that now, the more they stay the same. Hey, women, shut up. That's been a theme across all civilizations, it feels like. Hey, ladies, quit your yapping. But no, Theodora, she's actually, I reading through this story, I definitely like Theodora. But they didn't like that she didn't take a back seat. And then the poor, the Greens, they got their taxes raised on them, as they always do. As the first to get their taxes raised on them always do, right? So there was a riot. There was a little scuffle after the game. A green and a blue supporter were scheduled to be executed, right? On the day of their execution, the scaffolding broke. And the crowd took that as a sign from God. Like, hey, or God, since they're Roman, they shouldn't be executed. They should be released. Justinian does not agree to release them, but to ease tension, holds races, which he will be watching from a box. He watches the races from a box that the Emperor Palace is attached to. So it's attached to the racing grounds, but it's not a part of it. So it's just a special place for the Emperor, right? So the races are tense. And as the races keep going, the people get angrier and angrier. We want these two people released. And instead of cheering for their team, the racers start cheering Nika, Nika, or Nika, 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 which means win. And they get so riled up that they start a riot. Now, Rome at the time doesn't have like a police force that we have. You try to go start a riot at a game now, obviously the police would shut that shit down. Heavy police game at presence. Well, Rome doesn't have a regular police force. So this is why, obviously that my example at the beginning with the Cowboys Giants fans could actually never happen in America. Just sort of an example. And they just take over the streets. Now, I do want to mention, like, everything I know, obviously, it's not very, very super detailed. I watched, like, a 15-minute YouTube video and read a couple things on Wikipedia. So I could be wrong. I could be wrong about what I say. And most of this is, like, this is the world filtered through my understanding, and hopefully that you maybe look this up on your own at some points, right? Mob took over the streets. They took over the city. Justinian, with no police force, hides in his palace, initially gives in to whatever the demands that the mob wants. He's like, hey, let them have it, but that doesn't work. Giving in to the demands of the mob only compounds Justinian's problems. They get more agitated. It's almost very much like a good way to put it is, remember when Kevin Hart got in trouble for making those tweets about gay people, and he was supposed to host the Oscars, and he apologized. And the apology made it worse. That's what it felt like. It felt very cancel culturally, where he gave the mob what they wanted, but the mob getting what they wanted was like, see, we're right. And they continued taking over the streets. In fact, the mob elected their own new emperor, an old senator, which they dragged out of his home. And at first, was against it, and then was like, "Oh, I can do this." We're talking. Was like, "Oh, maybe I can be emperor," and he took the cause. And senators and Roman politicians who saw value in the mob taking over, and it was a way to gain power, got behind the mob as well. So now Justinian is in a bad spot, right? Justinian considers leaving. And this is where Theodora steps in. Theodora says, "No, leaving is weakness. We are not weak. We are royal. We will go down with the ship." And she says, one of the hardest lines in history, she goes, "The royal purple is the noblest burial shroud. I will die in purple." Love that. Love that. Baller, gangster, bitch shit. Justinian eventually calls soldiers over. I don't know the exact mechanisms would you call them over, because I know Rome doesn't have police force. They surround the rioters in the hippodrome where they run the races, block off all the exits, and slaughter them. 30,000 people dead from a riot at a sports ball game. At a sports ball game, the races. Justinian executes senators, consolidates power, rules for another 30 plus years, probably. I forgot how many years he ruled. And that was the beginning of the end of the chariot races. So maybe that's something that could take the NFL down. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, that was the Nika riots, everybody. The Nika riots. So hopefully, you feel like you've learned something. Hopefully that feels good. But yeah, I had that Jets joke of mine go viral, and then immediately Aaron Rodgers snaps his Achilles. Rough. I heard Colin Kaepernick reach out to the Jets, which was like, "Oh, come on, Colin, it's over. Let it go. Let it go. This just feels like your way of being back in the media again." And don't get me wrong, I think Colin got fucked. Colin got fucked. He got blackballed from the NFL for doing a peaceful protest. He didn't hurt anyone. And look, regardless of how you feel about it, I think the most important thing in America is the First Amendment. The right to free speech and the right to peacefully protest. And he got fucked for doing that. I'm not saying that Colin was a great quarterback. I'm a Niners fan. By the time he had left, he had fallen off a cliff. But I think that had a lot to do with the fact that our organization had imploded at that point. Harbaugh fired. Ballkeeper fired. 10 people retired, including Hall of Famers or potential Hall of Famers Patrick Willis and people like that. Chris Borland, I remember, just gone. He got fucked. These are a list of people who started the year after Kaepernick was blackballed from the NFL. Started. This is not including backups. Deshaun Kaiser, Brock Osweiler, Brent Hundley, C.J. Beathard, Mitch Trubisky, Josh McCown, Blaine Gabbert, Matt Moore, Tom Savage, Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, and Marcus Mariota. In that league in 2017, with those are people who are starting games, you're telling me Kaepernick couldn't have at least been a backup? Found a more stable coaching situation? He got fucked. That being said, Colin, you got your money. You got your terrible Netflix show out of it. Let it go, dog. But what do you say? He got his dreams ripped from him. That's hard. But it's like, hey, you're not going to make the Jets. I don't know. I think they said no to him. I would assume they wouldn't even have entertained a workout. But sucks for the Jets. I kind of feel like that I caused this situation by having my joke go viral. Because if you looked at the Jets, they look good. They still beat the Bills, who I think are overrated now. There's Josh Allen is so underrated. Was so underrated when he came in that he's overrated now. He's flipped on that. It's flipped. Turnover machine, Josh Allen. But man, he's got a rocket arm. I love watching it. When he completes a crazy pass, it's like, man, gorgeous. He has gorgeous deep balls. He really does. Hey, Josh Allen's balls are gorgeous. You feel what I'm saying? As long as the balls are in his hand, his balls are gorgeous. And I stand by that. Put that on my grave. But no, he's a turnover machine. But yeah. By the way, if the Bills lose this weekend, which you guys know, I'll for sure gonna make that a clip. The Josh Allen so underrated, he's overrated. Was so underrated, now he's overrated. It's absolutely gonna be a clip. Absolutely. Damn, we got a full 10 minutes left. What do y'all want to talk about? You guys have anything? You guys never contribute. I'm here all the time. You guys never answer. Say something right now. See? Nothing. Damn, what can we talk about? 'Cause you know what's funny? Usually I'd be like, what new jokes do I have going on? And it's like, I don't really have. This week has just been filled with the Drake concert and then getting ready for the wedding that I haven't been really able to write like that. I've been able to shore up some jokes and add stuff, but as far as new thoughts go, I don't think I really have any new thoughts. Here's a thought that I've been saying that hasn't been really working on stage, but I did say this to my girl the other day. Did I mention this on the podcast already? Damn, we're already at that. You know what I mean? That's how I know that I'm in full swing for all you longtime infidels. That I'm have I said this already? And am I repeating jokes already? We're already back in that stage. We're already back in that. Am I repeating stage? That's a good place to be, motherfuckers. A good place to be. I think let me check my phone. I think I wrote something down on things I wanted to talk about. Bum. Oh yeah, my best man speech. That just came out. What if I just started crying again? You guys want me to go? You want me to say my best man? No, I'm not gonna say my best man speech. It's not for you. Be at the wedding, losers. You gay losers. I don't know. I don't need to add that. Why do I need to add that? I felt like I needed to add that. The writer's strike and actor strike is still going on. Remember I said I wanted to talk about it, but I had a good faith that it was going to go on for that long? And, I mean, what's the end goal? Are they going to come back? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to come back. What incentive do these executives have to bring back writers' rooms and stuff? The more powerful AI gets, it's what's the point even? What's the point even? You know what I mean? You do some crazy things with AI. I have, what's crazy? I have some script ideas I wanted to write. And it's oh, maybe I can juice it up and have AI help me out. Is that ethical? If it's my idea, does it count that I still wrote it? And there's no way these soulless studio executives are thinking, oh, let's just do that for our show. Are they doing that with Ashoka? Isn't there holograms and shit? I don't really know what's going on with Ashoka. I'm done. I'm so checked out of Star Wars. I'm done with Star Wars. Maybe Ashoka is good. I don't give a fuck, dude. Also, why have everything revolve around this one storyline? Everything is related to Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. You have multiple galaxies and multiple like basically infinite galaxies and infinite planets to work from. Why does everything revolve around this one storyline? Can we have a disconnected storyline that's like in the world of Star Wars, but it's not part of the I would call it the Skywalker storyline or related to the Skywalker storyline? It was the Han Solo movie that I was out. That's when I was out on Star Wars. I was like, I'm done. I didn't even watch the third of the third trilogy. What was it, The Last Jedi or whatever the fuck? Or it wasn't The Last Jedi, right? It was The Rise of Skywalker. Didn't watch that. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm getting fatigued, getting superhero fatigue. I used to be so big on Marvel. I haven't seen a single fucking episode of any of the new stuff. Halfway through, which one was it? The Marvel show. Halfway through, what was it called? Hold on, let me see. I forgot what this is. How I forgot what it was called. I forgot what it was called. That's how much I don't remember the show. Marvel TV shows. Looking it up. Secret Invasion. Didn't even try that. Oh, halfway through Moon Knight, I was like, I'm done keeping up with this. I tried my best. I watched the whole thing through Thanos, and that was fun. But man, I just can't keep up. Getting fatigued. Too many universes. I'm done. But yeah, so it's like, but like, when is this writer strike gonna end? Like, what do we need? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Or this, like, what are we waiting for? For network TV to come back? I'm not dying to see young Sheldon again. You know what I mean? Or ever, really. That's done. I don't think they realize, like, these network executives, how much is actually going to kill network television. I think this is going to murder network television. There's already a bunch of self-produced content you can make on YouTube. You can make yourselves on Instagram. And, like, studios like A24, I believe, are allowed to produce stuff because they agreed to the rules. These major networks, I think, don't realize how much they're killing themselves. People will find alternative forms of entertainment. Is Hollywood dying? You don't need to be, if you're a comedian, you don't got to be there anymore. The internet is leveled the playing field. Or are they going to, you know? I'll tell you what, I'll be fine if I never see late night again. Bro, I tried listening to one episode of the late night hosts podcasting, the Strike Force 5. Quite possibly the worst thing I've ever heard. I can't imagine why anyone would care about this. They were talking about, like, places they vacationed or whatever, and I was like, bro, I don't give a fuck about where Seth Meyers vacationed. I don't give a fuck about his show now. Who is this for? I didn't think that. Oh, God, listening to Colbert talk was so frustrating. Colbert, the biggest sellout in the world, I feel. Had an iconic character. The Colbert Report was incredible. And then he sold out to make that network money and to become a shill for the advertisers. And I'm going to watch a podcast with that? A podcast, which is where you're supposed to be genuine. I'm going to watch 5 people talk about actually nothing so they don't make people mad? That's insane. Who is watching that? Cut to, like, it's like the highest listened to podcast on Spotify or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, because I clearly don't know what I'm talking about, but there's no way. I listened to one episode. I didn't even finish the episode. I got halfway through and I'm like, I'm done. I was curious and maybe I was going into it with bad intentions, but that has got to be one of the worst podcasts that has ever been pushed to me. I'll say that. Obviously, it's not one of the worst podcasts ever made because I'm doing this right now, but as far as advertised to me, that was horrible. Horrible. That's what the people should riot against. Fuck politics. Political is just garbage entertainment. Network TV is dead. You think it's going to come back strong after 5 months? Even if the protests ended, even if Even if the protests ended tomorrow, were we dying to watch CBS's Thursday night lineup? Oh, thank God Ghosts is back or whatever. Gives the rise of independent content creators to go up. Now my stuff isn't good enough to feel that, but that is real. I liked having the guest on Dangerous Brown. That was the Duncan was 2 weeks ago now. Maybe I'll try to think of what's the next guest I could get. It's got to be something that interests me though. It can't just be like, oh, let's just interview a comic and what's your life about? Who cares about that? It's got to be something interesting. So we'll look around for that. We've hit the 45 minutes, which is what this podcast is about. I do want to go. Let's do picks for this week. Hold on 1 second. Let me bring up the games. Nope. Okay. Let's bring up the games. One of my favorite things I saw Elon Musk got Amber Heard to cosplay as Mercy from Overwatch and then dropped a picture of it online. It's like, damn, bro. Good for you. Just living out your billionaire dreams. Huh? Good for you. Okay. So, after my picks for week 1, I went 10-5, which is pretty good. So, it's now time for the week 2 picks, but I think this is going to be way harder than the other one. So, let's start off Packers Falcons. Both 1-0 teams. I genuinely believe the Falcons have a defense. And I think the Packers might be a big overreaction team week 1 because of how bad they beat what I think is a bad Bears team. So I'm going to start off with an upset pick. I'm going to say Falcons over the Packers. Raiders at Bills. I think the Bills bounce back and beat the Raiders, but it'll be closer than you think. We have Ravens at Bengals. This feels like another Bengals slow start to the season. And I don't really know how injured Joe Burrow still is. I'm going to go Ravens here. But that's a rough pick. But the Bengals have just had the history of starting off slow. Seahawks at Lions. Lions are going to feast over the middle on that weak Seahawks defense. Lions going to win that. Chargers at Titans. I'm going Chargers. Bears at Buccaneers. Like I said, the Bears are bad. I'm going to go Bucks. Chiefs at Jaguars. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have a meltdown again like they did week 1. I think they're going to beat the Jaguars, but I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. Colts at Texans. There's 2 just garbage bowl games this week, and that's one of them. I'm going to say the Colts beat the Texans at home or on the road. They beat Niners at Rams. Let's go Niners. Giants at Cardinals. Other garbage bowl teams. I'm going to go Giants over the Cardinals here. Jets at Cowboys. I'm going to go Cowboys here. I don't think it's going to be like a runaway blowout like the Giants game was. The Cowboys are a bit of front runners, so they'll blow out bad teams, but good teams will play them close, and you'll really see the deficiency in their offense, I think, when they play good teams. Commanders at Broncos. I'll say Broncos. But I'm not high on this Broncos team. I'm not high on Sean Payton. Dolphins at Patriots. That Patriots defense is for real. For real. But I'm going to say Dolphins. That's the Sunday night game. I'm not particularly excited about it, though. And I could see the Patriots pulling this off. The 2-minute night game, Saints at Panthers. I think you got to give it to the Saints. And then Browns at Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are as bad as they're showing against the Niners, made them look. But I think the Browns are just better than them, so I'll go Browns. So those are my picks for the week. I'm 10-5. This feels like a week where I'll go 5-10. But we'll see what happens. You guys will already know by the time this comes out how wrong I am, except for the Monday night games, of course. But Infidels, another week. We did another Brown. You learned about the Nika riots. Hopefully, I'll have something next week going on. You know what I mean? That I'll think about, I should talk about that. You know how it is. We fly by our seat of our pants here. But Infidels, I love you. Y'all are the best. I will see you next week. Peace in the Middle East.